Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to another video. So yeah, it is finally the end of January and in this video I'm going to show you everything that I picked up for the month of January 2023. There's not like a massive amount of titles here. I always tend to be a bit careful in January because I get paid quite early in December, obviously because of Christmas. But then January payday is always the same. It's the last day of the month for me. So it always feels like a really long wait for that January payday. So I always tend to be a bit more careful with money in January. But there's still a fair few things here, some fairly sizable items as well. But yeah, let's just get straight into it. So the first thing I have here is a TV show on Blu-ray, and it is the Dragon Ball Super collection. Yeah, this was originally £100 when it came out recently, but it went down to £50 in a sale, and I just couldn't say no to that price. I'm a huge fan of the Dragon Ball franchise. I remember as a kid I used to watch Dragon Ball Z all the time on Cartoon Network. I absolutely loved it. But then after that, I kind of forgot about this show for about 20 years. And it's only within the last year or so that I've started to get back into this franchise. And yeah, Dragon Ball fans will know that this is the most sort of recent, most modern series that we've got in the franchise. And yeah, I'm just going to give a shout out to Jason Brett as well, because it was actually him that I went to because I wanted to ask his opinion on this particular show, because I know he's a huge fan of the franchise. And yeah, he gave it his seal of approval. So after that, I decided to get it, and yeah, I've just started watching this one, and yeah, so far I'm really enjoying it, and it's a very, very nice box set, as you can see. But yeah, that is the Dragon Ball Super collection. And then to go along with that collection, I also got this, which is like a Dragon Ball movie collection. It's got 3 movies in it, so you've got Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods, Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F, and Dragon Ball Super Broly. So yeah, I have already watched these 2 movies because I think they were actually released just before the Dragon Ball Super series. So I did already watch these quite recently. I know these 2 movies do get redone in the TV series, but yeah, thought I'd just watch them anyway because they did technically come out before the series. But I know this movie comes after the series, so I will watch that once the series is done. But yeah, that is the Dragon Ball movie collection. So on to a few DVDs now, and the first one that I have here is All That Jazz. So yeah, this is a movie that I've been wanting to see for a long time, just never got round to it. And yeah, it's a movie starring Roy Scheider, and it's directed by Bob Fosse, and it's kind of based on his life, on how he sort of worked as a director in sort of the Broadway show business, and it's kind of an autobiographical account of his life in show business, and how excessive it got with him trying to balance, his personal life and his professional life. And yeah, it's a really good movie, to be fair. I've never seen Roy Scheider like this. I think I always expect him to be someone a bit more serious, like in Jaws or The French Connection or Marathon Man, Sorcerer, those types of movies. But yeah, it's a very different kind of role for him. I think the cover makes it look like it's going to be a musical, but it's anything but that, to be fair. But yeah, classic movie from 1979. Yeah, that is All That Jazz. Next DVD we have is Chasing Amy. Now, recently I've been rewatching a lot of the Kevin Smith, Jay and Silent Bob, Clerks movies, because I know we had Clerks 3 recently, so I've been rewatching all of that to try and build up to that movie. But I realised this was the only movie from that series that I'd never seen, so I ended up getting this DVD of it quite cheap. Yeah, it's a very different sort of movie in comparison to the rest of those Kevin Smith movies. This one is a lot more serious, but it's probably my favourite of all of the ones I've seen from that series of films. Yeah, just a great story, great acting in it, really heartfelt. It still has its funny moments, of course, but yeah, really good movie, and definitely Kevin Smith at his most mature, I would say. But yeah, fantastic movie, and that is Chasing Amy. Next DVD that I picked up was The Crucible, starring Daniel Day-Lewis and Winona Ryder. And yeah, again, this is another movie that I hadn't seen before, but I wanted to see it mainly because I'm a big fan of Daniel Day-Lewis. And I actually didn't realise when I watched this that it was actually about the Salem witch trials. I always thought it was going to be about something different for some reason. But yeah, fantastic movie, really harrowing in places. Great acting from the 2 main stars. Winona Ryder she is evil in this movie. Like every time I see Winona Ryder, I think I always expect her to play sort of like a sweet, innocent, naive kind of character. But in this one, she is evil to the core. Fantastic movie, really harrowing, like I said. Definitely check it out. That is The Crucible. Next few DVDs now, you might see a bit of a pattern with them. Recently, I've been on a bit of a Cameron Crowe kick. I've been rewatching a lot of his movies, but I realised there was a few from his filmography that I hadn't seen before. And the first one we have here is Elizabethtown. So yeah, this is a movie that came out in 2005, I think. It was the movie he made after Vanilla Sky, which is arguably his best film. It's certainly my personal favourite from him. And I know this movie gets a lot of hate from a lot of people, and I think when it came out, it didn't do that well critically, but I actually really enjoyed this movie. It's your typical sort of romantic comedy drama, typical sort of what do they call it? Like the meet cute kind of movie of two characters who seemingly just meet at a very random point and build a relationship from there. And yeah, I just thought it was a really decent drama. Nothing special, but not a bad movie either. And of course, because it's Cameron Crowe, it's got a fantastic soundtrack, some great songs in this movie. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I've got no complaints on it. That is Elizabethtown. And then the other Cameron Crowe movie that I picked up on DVD was We Bought a Zoo. So yeah, this is more of a recent film from him. Well, I say recent, I think it came out about 10 years ago, but it still feels quite modern when you watch it. And yeah, this is a movie that stars Matt Damon. He plays this recently widowed father of two who suddenly has a bit of a crisis in his life, and he decides to sell his house and buy this old zoo that is long out of business, and he decides to take it upon himself to try and get this zoo up and running again. And whilst doing that, he faces a lot of personal problems along the way. And yeah, it's your very typical generic kind of drama movie. You've probably seen hundreds of movies like this. But it's still a good movie. Again, like Elizabethtown, I had no real complaints on it. I thought it was just a decent sort of 2-hour movie, and yeah, I had a good time with it. That is We Bought a Zoo. Right, the next DVD I've got here is a movie that I'm kind of ashamed to say that I'd never actually heard of it before, but anyone who knows me will know that I'm a huge fan of the movie Fast Times at Ridgemont High. It's probably my favourite 1980s high school comedy movie, coming of age sort of movie. And this movie is described as being the sort of spiritual sequel to it. And it does have a lot of similarities to Fast Times. I mean, it's got the same director. Cameron Crowe's written the script for this one. He also wrote the script for Fast Times. And it's just a similar type of movie, coming of age, sort of 80s comedy. And it's a movie called The Wildlife. And yeah, like I said, very similar movie to Fast Times at Ridgemont High. It's got a pretty good cast in there. You've got Chris Penn, Leah Thompson, Eric Stoltz. You've even got Rick Moranis in there. And yeah, it's just a fun little movie. Nowhere near as good as Fast Times at Ridgemont High, but still a really solid 1980s coming-of-age comedy movie. If you like your movies like this, if you like these types of movies, definitely check it out. It was released on the Final Cut label. There isn't a Blu-ray release as far as I'm aware, but this DVD is still readily available to purchase in the UK. So yeah, if you like these sorts of movies, definitely check it out. That is The Wildlife. Right, onto the Blu-rays now. And first up, we have a movie that has been released by a brand new boutique label here in the UK, something I've been very excited about. But it's a movie called Big Time Gambling Boss, released by Radiance Films. And yeah, I have to say, this was a fantastic movie. It's a movie that was released in 1968, I think, and it's a Japanese Yakuza movie. But for me, it was probably one of the best Yakuza movies I've ever seen. Very engaging story, great characters. The story was very easy to follow, because I think sometimes these Japanese Yakuza movies can be a bit convoluted in places, especially if there's a lot of characters involved, but this one keeps it very simple, very straightforward, and because of that, it's very engaging. Yeah, it's a fantastic movie, and really nice release from Radiance Films. You get, like, as usual with boutiques, you get, like, sort of your reversible artwork with a booklet, but you also get this really cool like strip, like on the inside of the case. It has all the information on, but you can take it out of the case if you don't want it in there, and it won't cover the artwork. And yeah, I just thought that was a really nice touch. But yeah, I'm really excited to see what this label do going forward. And yeah, this was a fantastic movie. So if you like your Japanese Yakuza movies, definitely check out Big Time Gambling Boss. Next Blu-ray we have is a movie that was released last year, and it was probably one of my most anticipated movies of that year. And we have Decision to Leave. So yeah, this is a South Korean movie directed by Park Chan-wook, who's probably best known for directing Old Boy, The Handmaiden first, Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance. Yeah, he's a fantastic director and probably the most well-known South Korean director alongside Bong Joon-ho. But I have to admit, I was a little bit underwhelmed by this movie. It's definitely not one of my favorites from him. The story is kind of like it involves this police detective who's investigating this woman who is the main suspect in her husband's death. And whilst he's sort of investigating her, interrogating her, he starts to form a bit of a relationship with her. And obviously that starts to clash with his professional duties as a police officer. But I felt the movie was a little bit overly convoluted than it needed to be, considering the story with this movie. But I feel like it's a movie that probably needs maybe multiple rewatches, because it definitely felt like I didn't quite get everything out of it. And yeah, I think on a rewatch, it will probably improve for me. It's definitely not one of my favorites from the director, but only time will tell. Maybe in years to come, I will think back a lot more fondly on this movie, but I still enjoyed it nonetheless. But that is Decision to Leave. Next up, we have a 4K release, and this is one from 88 Films that was on sale in HMV, and I decided to pick it up. And we have Drive from 1997. And yeah, this was a really fun movie. I think it might have been straight to DVD or straight to video when it first came out, but I had a really good time with it. It reminded me a lot of Rush Hour, that same sort of buddy cop type of movie. And also the fact that you have these two characters, and one of them is really good at martial arts, really skillful. And then you have the other one who is more of the comedy relief, kind of like the wisecracking sort of character. But the dynamic between the two of them was great. And yeah, I just had a lot of fun with it. There's a lot of great action sequences in it. It's just sort of silly, turn your brain off kind of entertainment. But yeah, I had an absolute blast with it. And that is Drive from 1997. Next up, we have the Executioner Collection, released by Arrow Video. And yeah, these are two movies that are sort of old school Japanese action movies starring Sonny Chiba. And yeah, really nice collection from Arrow Video. I thought the first movie was great. In particular, the last 20 minutes of it is just pure chaos. Some absolutely brilliant fight scenes and action sequences. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, the first movie. The second one, I didn't like it quite as much. I think it leaned a bit more into the comedy aspect. I mean, the first one does have comedy, but not as much, whereas the second movie felt a bit Three Stooges to me, and yeah, I just didn't really enjoy it as much. But nonetheless, the first movie is still great, and yeah, there's just some wonderful action sequences and fight scenes in it, and Sonny Chiba is great in them. But yeah, that is the Executioner Collection from Arrow Video. Next up, we have Royal Warriors, released by Eureka. And yeah, another sort of old school action movie, this time from Hong Kong, and it stars Michelle Yeoh in one of her very early appearances in Hong Kong cinema. And yeah, I think this movie is considered like the second part of the In the Line of Duty series. I think Yes Madam was the first of that series, and this is the second, but I don't think this movie has any sort of connection to that first movie. But I absolutely loved this movie. If you like your Hong Kong action movies and you like them to be very serious and very action heavy, then definitely check this one out. There's some fantastic action scenes, great dynamics with the three main characters. Yeah, very fun story, very serious, kind of dark in places, but yeah, just a really entertaining Hong Kong action movie, and that is Royal Warriors. Next up, we have a release that I think came out back in October, but it was one of those releases that just sold out so quickly and I think took everyone by surprise. And for a while, it was very hard to obtain, but thankfully it got restocked in HMV for a slightly cheaper price as well. But we have the Terrifier collection. So this is Terrifier 1 and 2. Now, before getting this, I had already seen the first Terrifier movie, and I remember I liked it, but I wasn't totally blown away by it. But there was still enough in that movie to make me interested enough to see the second one. So I was always looking out for this. And yeah, I rewatched the first one and I had a much better time of it on that second viewing. And then I watched the second one and I absolutely loved it. This guy, Art the Clown, he is undoubtedly going to be sort of the new face of horror in these modern times. I feel like he's going to be the next Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger. He's going to be, one of those types of characters for, modern cinema. And yeah, he's fantastic. He is a sadistic, mean-spirited character, and some of the things he does in these two movies is horrific. But at the same time, he's also very funny in a strange sort of way. So yeah, these movies kind of have it all. They have horror, gore, but then also comedy. And yeah, they really work. And I'm really excited to see what they do with this franchise, because I believe they are making a third one and, maybe more after that. So yeah, I am looking forward to seeing them. These movies won't be for everyone because they are very extreme, very gory, but I'm a big horror fan and yeah, I did have a good time with them. But yeah, that is the Terrifier collection. Next up, we have a media book release, and this is my first ever media book pickup. And we have Time Bomb, or as it says here, Nameless, but the actual official title of the movie is Time Bomb. And yeah, this is a German media book, and this is a movie I saw quite recently on YouTube, and I absolutely loved it, and I knew I had to have it in my collection, and getting it on this media book was kind of the best and most affordable way to do that. I have already done a separate video on this release, so if you do want to check that out, I will leave a link in the description below. But yeah, that is Time Bomb. Right, so last pickup now for January, and this is one, I do have to admit, I got this one more as a collection completer. It's a set of 3 movies released in a box set, and I've got to admit, I'm not the biggest fan of these movies, but I managed to get it for quite a good price, to be fair, and I thought now was probably the best time to get it. But we have the Halloween 4K collection of parts 6, 7, and 8. So that's The Curse of Michael Myers, Halloween H2O, and Halloween Resurrection. Not the greatest movies in the franchise, I will admit that, but I do still have a lot of fun with them nonetheless. And like I said, I mainly got this just to complete the collection. I think this box set normally goes for about 90 to 100 quid. But through a lot of luck and Christmas money and Amazon vouchers and all that kind of stuff, I managed to get around about £80 worth of Amazon credit on my Amazon account. And I just thought, you know what, I'll just use it on this. So in the end, I only paid about 10 quid for this box set. And I thought that was probably more than a reasonable price. And yeah, you get your free movies in the nice hard cases. And yeah, it's just nice to finally have these and to finally have a very sort of definitive collection of these movies, because here in the UK, the Halloween movies have always been kind of hard to get a complete collection of. I don't know if it's like a rights issue here in the UK, but we've always really struggled to just kind of get like a complete collection of these movies in a very uniform sort of way. But with these 4Ks now, I feel like we finally do have that. And yeah, it's a really nice collection. The movies look great on 4K. Like I said, not the best in the franchise, but I can still have fun with them nonetheless. But yeah, that is the Halloween 4K collection of parts 6, 7, and 8. So there you go, guys. Those are my pickups for the month of January 2023. Really hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below if you've seen any of these movies or if you've picked up any of these releases. I would love to hear your thoughts. But until then, guys, I will see you all on the next one. So take care.